I guess we can start.
Yeah.
I know you'll kick it off, but I think we should probably start by just introducing ourselves quickly since we have two guests here this evening. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Sure.
That's good.
Absolutely. I will go across my screen. The town of Groton staff, who is that?
Oh, that would be me.
Oh,
Mark Berry, Director of Parks and Recreation.
good to meet you, Mark. John Silsby, Groton Parks Foundation.
Dominic.
You're up next, B.
Oh,
Okay, all right. B. Reynolds, Tri-Town Trail Association Board Member.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Andy.
Andy Halsey. I'm never sure why I'm anywhere, but I guess I am a member of the Copp family.
Welcome. Dick.
Hey, Dick Conant, I'm on the board.
Did you say you're bored or on the board?
I'm bored.
Oh.
No,
Hi,
I
Ray.
don't get bored for another 10 minutes. Unless you guys keep it lively.
Ray.
Raymond.
Brian. Welcome.
Thank you, John. Brian Kent, partner in Kent and Frost Landscape Architects, and here tonight as president of Bike Groton.
Thank you for joining us. Jim.
Yep.
Say hello, Jim.
Hello,
Hey.
Jim.
Jim Sherrard. I'm both on the Copp board and the Parks Foundation, both. Happy to be here.
Dom.
Dominic Vendetti, Chairman of the Copp Board of Overseers and a member of the Groton Parks Foundation.
Sorry, Alan, you're at the end of the line here.
My name's Alan. And I guess I'm on both the Copp Park and the Copp Foundation board and happy to be here also and happy to see you guys.
Good to see you. Hope your families are all doing well and in good health. And at this point, I'm going to introduce the chairman of the Copp Overseers Board, who will run the initial portion of the meeting. But wait 1 second here. We have one additional agenda item for the Groton Parks Foundation business. Under new business, there'll be an item 3, fundraising event for 2021. So we get to 2, expect a number 3. Sorry, Don, I'll let you
Yeah,
take it from here.
okay. So we just called the roll, I guess. You got that, Ray, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, meeting was called to order. We had the roll call for everyone. Citizens petition, comments, concerns? Received none, correct? So approval or discussion on the minutes from our last meeting. Any questions, comments, corrections?
Why don't we make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. All right, then we're going to go to guests now, John.
Yeah, I think so. They don't have to listen to the rest of the meeting unless they want to, but let's.
Electrifying, I don't know. Edge of your seat stuff we talk about, so.
I don't know. Dick said he was going to be bored, so I'm not sure.
Guess you really want to go first. The man to go first.
Have you kick it off here. So we're going to go with Tri-Town Trail first.
Yes, I think the lady deserves the floor.
Okay,
Okay.
please.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. I'm a representative for Tri-Town Trails, and I'm here this evening to update you on what's happening with Tri-Town Trails. And my other agenda item is I'm asking for support and for us to partner together to advance the Tri-Town Trail. So as many of you know, this is quick. This is more of an update, but this is just a quick overview. So Tri-Town Trail is a multi-purpose 14-mile trail connecting Preston, Ledyard, and Groton, and terminating at Bluff Point State Park. So it was endorsed by the 3 towns back in 2010. Hard to believe, but they've been around a long time. I've joined them in the last 6 years, but this group has been working a long time on this. So the formal master plan was developed by the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments in 2010, and then endorsed by each of the towns. And in 2015, we received a grant, well, actually, the town of Ledger received a grant from the state of Connecticut, DEEP Recreational Trail Grant. And that was awarded in order to develop the initial northern section of the trail, starting at Preston Community Park and heading south. And that grant allowed the town to receive engineering plans, completed 2 bridge plans over Joe Clark Brook. The first 1.2 miles had detailed trail plannings and were prepared to support and obtain the associated wetland permits that we needed. And then in 2019, as you may have known, the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments developed a regional bicycle and pedestrian plan, and that was, and Tri-Town Trail was included in that plan as well. Conservation easements were procured from 2 landowners in order to join 2 ledgered open space properties. And we've been working with the town of Preston to secure some signage, because we actually connect to the Pequot Trail as part of the Connecticut Forest and Park Association as well. So the Tri-Town Trail at Northern intersects with that trail as well. So over the course of the last year, since 2019, we have been building a trail. And in 2020, we actually opened the first 1.2 miles of hiking trail. Additionally, we are working on another mile that's still on town property going south. So we hope by this fall, we'll have a grand opening and we'll have 2 miles of trail continuing south, or 4 miles of an in and out trip. In Groton. So I've been meeting with Mark for I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years. And we've also been in touch with the Bluff Point park manager. So in Groton, you know that the town of Groton received a Connecticut connectivity grant. And part of that grant was a bicycle lane on Pequot Road. And that actually connects Bluff Point to Route 1. And that would really assimilate or coordinate with that first part of the Tri-Town Trails coming out of Bluff Point. And then the reasons we're working with the state DEEP and the park manager at Bluff Point is we're looking to get trail signs that actually say Tri-Town Trail signs on that, because that is actually the start of the Tri-Town Trails. And we've had endorsement from towns and from the Southeastern COG as well. So we're hoping to move forward with that as well. So our vision, and why I'm here to you tonight, is because we envision the first part of this trail in the southern section would be to connect Bluff Point to Copp Family Park. And that's why I'm here today to say, I would like to partner with you. The Tri-Town Trails would like to work with you, and we'd like a formal endorsement. And if we could work together to move forward on that southern part of the Tri-Town Trail. I have an interesting piece of information for you as well. This morning, representatives of Tri-Town Trail actually were invited to meet with the Groton Utilities staff. And the purpose of that, this was an initial meeting, and the purpose of that was to explore options around the regional trails and how we can work together, Tri-Town Trails and Groton Utilities, to see if we can't move this forward.
Wow,
So that was an initial meeting.
There must be something new in the water.
Yeah, exactly.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that came about because there are a couple of board members actually in Groton Utilities that live in the city of Groton who I had approached, and they said, you know, we should talk about this again. And at the board meeting, they directed the staff at Groton Utilities to at least have an exploratory meeting with Tri-Town Trails. And that's how that came about. So we're hopeful, and it was a positive meeting, and they continue to say, let's continue to meet.
B, you could be the maker of a miracle here if something were to happen on that, because
That's right.
Amen.
You know, it was just
I
the
mean,
timing
this-
was right and the networking was right. You know, you just keep
But-
talking and keep talking, and eventually you talk to the right person, right?
You know, I don't want to speak for the rest of these guys, but you know, for years, the
Yeah,
Copp and Groton Parks Foundation, you know, have been very strongly supportive of that. And we know eventually it's part of the trail would actually go through the Copp property, but we also know, you know, what Mark probably has been banging his head on, and I was before him, with trying to get something to happen with Groton Utilities, which has always been a challenge, but so I guess this is your meeting, Dom, so don't let me.
I think over the years, we've certainly listened to you folks and been supportive in consensus of the board that we really did want it to happen and support it. But now I think what you're calling for is an official motion and vote. I think I'm entertaining that. I think I would be happy to hear that, so we can officially get it on record as supporting the project.
I will move that endorsement as a part of the Board of Overseers.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think this will be just a Copp vote,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
right.
just
So,
clarify, yeah.
but you got all the Copp boys there, here.
Yes. Unanimous.
All right, unanimous. All right. Very good, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks,
Any
Lee.
questions at all?
What open space properties did you strike an agreement with up in Ledyard?
The town of Ledyard actually had two properties, one that's directly across the street from the Preston Community Park. And down the road about a half or 3/4 of a mile is something called Joe Clark Farm.
Okay,
And the original plan was to follow the brook down and connect those two properties. However, there were a lot of wetlands, so we actually had to go to landowners and ask for easements. And that took 3 years. Like I said, we
Yeah.
delivered a lot of potted plants and did a lot of talking.
Yes.
But eventually we got conservation easement on two properties as well. So that was a huge piece too.
great.
Yes, B, I have a question also, just for clarity, really. You mentioned that we are looking tonight at the Bluff Point to Copp connection. And I think you mentioned you got a Groton connectivity grant for Bluff Point to Route 1. So are we really looking just Route 1 to Copp at this juncture?
That is really in the planning stages, because for some people, we feel as though that the Paquonic River walkway might be a good alternative as a walking possibility. And then you have that Depot Road as a possibility for a bike lane. So how we progress is really, we always say at every step of the way, it's all a matter of planning and figuring out what works. And now that we're meeting with Groton Utilities, are we still going to say we're going to go across the street at Route 1 and go onto North Road? Or are we going to stay where the boardwalk is and cross, and there's some land right by the Groton Human Services? And I understand that Groton Utilities is also working with the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District on doing some pollinator fields and rain gardens and things. And so that might be a tie-in. So at this point, we're looking at options, but that bicycle lane along Depot Road was really, a big bonus for us.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for B? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we jumping to Mr. Kent.
Yeah, just let me introduce Brian. Brian has submitted a grant proposal for a new pump track in Groton, which would actually be built on town land. Hopefully you all received, it was quite a lengthy amount of paperwork that you got via Brian, but I invited him to come tonight to make his presentation so that we can discuss his grant request, later on in the meeting. So Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. So what I would really like to do is go through my presentation, my PowerPoint presentation. I've added a couple of the updated slides. And I think that what I've learned from other Zoom meetings is that if everyone would mute and then turn off their cameras, I'll be able to run through my presentation much more smoothly without the kind of interference that sometimes happens because there's such a large amount of data. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen here first. Slideshow. Okay. So are you seeing the, you should be seeing the Groton pump track opening slide.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, all right, here we go. So this is, of course, a map of Groton, and you can see where the site is located, very central to the town. And there are some really interesting corresponding features that we'll cover here in just a second. The point of the title on the slide, or the subtitle, is it's a centralized location in the town of Groton, but this kind of a facility is rare in New England and very rare in Connecticut. There's only one other that exists, one other public pump track in Connecticut that we know of at this point, down in Madison. So we expect to also have a regional draw of individuals and families that will come into Groton to use this facility. Let's see if I can advance this. Here we go. Okay. Another reason why this is important regionally is because the Southeast Council of Governments Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan, B mentioned it also, identified a bike route from Westerly through all the way to New Haven, named as the Eastern Shoreline Path. And it will enter Groton and Mystic, and it'll go down through Haley Farm onto the GNS Trolley Trail, and it will emerge right here at this site. And then we'll continue into the city of Groton, New London, and beyond. The site itself, as you can see, it's the little yellow polygon down there on the left side, is located at the southern terminus of Depot Road. Again, it corresponds with the other regional facilities, including the southern terminus of the Tri-Town Trail that B was referring to. It's also right alongside the bike path and bikeway that was approved by the state for the community connectivity grant. And Bike Groton actually worked with the Parks and Rec Department and the Public Works engineers to refine the grant application to the state. And we improved it and we made it much more competitive, and it was, of course, successful. One of 10 out of almost 50 applications this round. So a really great success for the town after many years of not really competing or receiving these kinds of grants. So that facility is shown in green. So everything there is part of that new bikeway, and it's alongside the Tri-Town Trail, which is shown in red on Depot Road. And like he said, Tri-Town might detour over to the boardwalk, and the boardwalk is orange. That's the Eastern Shoreline Path. So you can see how all of these bicycle multimodal facilities really come together at our site. And it's not a coincidence. Of course, we were aware of this. We went through a town-wide screening of potential sites, and this is the one that emerged as the best candidate. It's in the center of town. It's near nearby schools. It's adjacent to mountain bike areas. Many of the same people that were riding a pump track are riding on the trails of Bluff Point, Haley Farm. It's within a neighborhood revitalization zone, as you might know, sometimes referred to as Fort Hill neighborhood or Paquonic Bridge neighborhood. There's over 1,000 dwellings there. There are many families, children, many underserved folks there. A lot of kids who could benefit from having a fun and healthy facility that will take up much of their time. They're outside of school or on weekends. And I know this firsthand from riding around down there myself, talking to some of the kids that are on little BMX style bikes. They know exactly what a pump track is. If you took a poll of adults, even those that ride bikes, and you ask them to tell you what a pump track is, most of them would fail. You ask 10-year-old boys, and probably girls too, and they know exactly what it is because they've been watching Red Bull Rampage on YouTube and all these other, extreme sports shows. And they would be so excited. The kids I've talked to are so excited to hear that this is coming to their neighborhood. So here's a closer view of the site. It's the Paquonic Bridge Boardwalk Park. So it's an existing park. There's a small playground there. There's a parking lot there. There's a concrete sidewalk that goes kind of around the perimeter of where we're going to build the pump track. It's already got a lot of infrastructure, and that's very important and valuable for the project. This is a typical pump track design. It's a circuit. You go around and around as long as you want, or until somebody kicks you out because they want to ride it. And it is basically a way to ride a bicycle without pedaling. I mean, you could take the pedals, or well, you kind of need the pedals, but you could take the chain off of a bike and you could ride around on a pump track, and you could go as fast as you can possibly imagine just by pushing and pulling using the momentum and your weight. And it's a full body workout, and it's tons of fun. The sensation you get when you figure out how to accelerate on a bicycle without pedaling by going up and down on these mounds is hard to describe. But there's nothing radical in here. These are all like 1, 2, 3 feet high, and these sweeping corners have 10-foot radii, and you just use your momentum to increase your speed and to learn how to ride a bicycle with a higher degree of skill than you could probably learn in most other kinds of riding experiences. So we've been working with some different people who have experience designing pump tracks. We've done a lot of research and a lot of coordination. We're working with the New England Mountain Bike Association. Of course, we're working closely with the Parks and Rec Department. Mark Berry has been very helpful. Jessica Patterson has been very helpful in his office. And what we have here is a circuit, and it's about, all told, maybe 1/4 of an acre. Once you put a fence around it, it has to be fenced because it gets closed down in the winter. It's made out of dirt. These are shaped mounds based on geometry. It's really interesting. It's basically sine wave geometry. And so you have your the top of your wave and your bottom of your wave, and most of them are spaced about 10 feet apart. And then you have corners and you have angles, and those are shown in the next slide. This is a close-up. Each line perpendicular to the track is the peak of one of these mounds or rollers, and then you can see the profiles alongside. And we've looked at all kinds of pump tracks, and we've seen ones that are really boring, and we've designed one that will be very challenging for everyone, anyone can learn to ride it. So a 7-year-old who's just learned how to ride a bike, even a little kid on a push bike could ride this. And we've definitely seen where families come out, their kids, and they all get into it, and kids learn it much faster than their parents. And they go around and around and have a great time. And these are very popular in other places. I mean, they're all over Europe, and they're making them paved, and they're putting lights up, and they're 24 hours a day, 12 months out of the year, because it's a small facility. It's easy to take care of. It's low cost in the scheme of things. and it's just tons of fun. So this is the completely original design that we have come up with. There's not a pump track like this anywhere else. Here's a view from the street. This may look familiar. In the far left is the underpass entrance to Bluff Point. You can see we've already got so much of the infrastructure here. The parking is there. We think there's power and possibly water on the site. And, you know, speaking of Groton Utilities, I've submitted a request for assistance from them, hoping that they will help us with providing water and power, and waiting on a reply. And this is what they look like. You can see in the top right, here's a kid, he's going through the radius, the berm as it's referred to, and you're riding on a very steep angle, but you're going fast enough that you just stick to it. And then you can see the rollers or the consecutive mounds. And, you know, these are all dirt, which is how ours will be built. So it'll look very similar to these. You know, we're going to pay great attention to the landscaping. It'll either be a grass wildflower mix that doesn't have high maintenance, maybe a couple shade trees. It's a very exposed site. We'll take care of drainage with, you know, like rain garden type areas to protect the runoff that goes into the Paquonic River. And we'll recognize donors. So we're currently in a fundraising campaign. We have a GoFundMe page. We've received some grant money. We've received quite a bit of private money. I just learned today, for example, that the Chelsea Groton Foundation is granting us $500. We've received, by my last count, around $12,000 in private pledges and donations, actual money. We have the GoFundMe page is currently, last time I checked, at $1,300. So I think we're closing in on $20,000 of committed funding, and we're hoping to raise $55,000. And if we can raise more, then we'll be able to afford amenities like maybe a shade pavilion and some benches and possibly a few other things that will just make it more comfortable and enjoyable. And we are very excited that the community is getting behind us, that we're getting great PR. For example, there's an article that'll hopefully supposedly be published in the Day tomorrow about it. I've been talking to Kim Drellick, I think is how her name's pronounced, a journalist who covers fairs in Groton, and spent quite a bit of time reaching out with her and providing her with information. So I'm looking forward to that. And I look forward now to any of your questions. And thank you very much for your attention. Okay, so I guess I can leave the show up in case you have any particular questions, but let's, go ahead and turn your cameras and your microphones back on if you have any comments or questions. Thanks.
So
Dick Conant here. Talk a little bit more about, you're going to close this down during the winter. Talk a little bit more about the long-term maintenance that's going to have to be done. Does it have to be graded or raked out regularly, or?
It does require a little bit of maintenance during the season, and what we're envisioning is that we would just keep some basic hand tools like rakes and flat blade shovels and that sort of thing, maybe in a small shed like the Noank Community Garden has a shed there, and there are some small garden tools kept in there in order to just do tune-up work during the season. So the soil is a particular mix, and it's a percentage of clay and sand. And so we'll actually procure the soil from a company that makes soil mixes, like what's made for baseball infields. It's similar to that. And my company has much experience and contacts, so we'll help out with that. So it'll be a pretty hard compacting material. The reason that it must be closed down in the winter is because when the soil is frozen or covered in snow, or you have freeze thaw effect going on, these tracks just have to be closed down. You can't use them. If we could raise $150,000, this could be a paved track. There are companies that make them out of asphalt. You can just Google pump tracks, and then within 5 seconds, you'll see what a paved pump track looks like. That would be open year round. That would be spectacular for the town if we could do that. But being realistic, we're saying, no, we just don't see how we could raise that much. That doesn't preclude this from ever being paved, though. If the community embraces it and it becomes so popular and the demand calls out for a year-round facility, then we could come back and look at that. But in the wintertime, it needs to, and you can see just about every public pump track has a fence around it that's soil like this. You can see, I think, in all these, or most of these photos, some of them anyways, there's a fence. And the one in Rockland, or Madison, Connecticut, Rockland Bike Park, has a fence around, and they just shut it down, and they have an opening work party in April. And for that, the New England Mountain Bike Association has a Southeast Connecticut chapter. They're very active, enthusiastic. We've been meeting with them about this, and they've expressed an interest in executing a memorandum of understanding with the Parks and Rec Department, so that they have the authorized access to the park for that kind of perennial maintenance. And
so NEMBA would be taking care of the maintenance.
NEMBA would be taking care of some of the maintenance. So like actually maintaining the track surface and sculpting in the spring and just getting it all tuned up. That would be NEMBA. Parks and Rec would be responsible for basic grounds maintenance, which in my conversations with Mark, we've talked about how important it is to minimize that. So the greenery would be like a wildflower grass mix that really only needs to get cut like once a year, like say like Haley Farm meadow mixes. You've probably seen that activity. And then other areas would be just covered in dense wood chips to suppress the weeds. Our objective is keep the weeds out as much as possible, keep the mowing and string trimming down as little as possible, and that this thing then just really needs skillful volunteers to come in and just take care of the surface. And we would also probably keep a stockpile of this soil material nearby so that we could use it to fill if there are any ruts or potholes. So we're thinking about all of this and planning for it for sure.
Okay. Now, if you only can raise enough to go earthen at first, is it easy if you were to raise more money to convert what you put in to hard surface?
As from what I understand, I mean, there would be some grading involved, but it could be done.
Thank you.
I'm sort of familiar with the area. What is the elevation?
Good question. I'll just tell you rather than going back. I mean, we've got topographic information. It's right around 12. So it's out of the flood zone. It's not in the 100-year flood zone. And it's basically high and dry. And there's really great infrastructure on this site. There's like 4 storm drains that are to the west of our site. So we'll be able to connect to those with piping if we need to, but most of the runoff is just flowing over land to those drains.
Okay.
I chair the Groton Shellfish Commission, and the Paquonic River is our primo area. So I guess I'd be a little concerned if rain gardens or detention basins can't handle everything, that we're putting any type of storm water into the river there with the current concerns we have with fecal coliform for the shellfishing beds.
Well, so I'll just give you a little context. So my firm, Kent & Frost, is a landscape architecture firm, and we deal with grading and drainage every day, and we prepare sediment control plans for our projects, and we will be absolutely certain that the if there is runoff, that it'll be treated. I mean, the goal would be to contain virtually all of the drainage within the track itself, so we can create these rain gardens And because the property's at elevation 12, there should be decent permeability. If we were much closer to groundwater, it might be a little more difficult, but I think that would be our goal, is to detain and treat this all before, if any of it does run off to the river, that is clean by the time it gets there.
Thank you.
Do you need to have somebody supervise? Does someone from the town have to be there at all times to
No,
police things, or?
no, not at all.
No, it would operate similar to the skate park.
Yeah.
And we do not have anybody down there supervising the use of the skate park.
Okay.
You know,
Brian,
and we envision special events going on. You know, we'd love to have some professional riders come down, and I'm sure we could arrange this to do demonstrations. You can even do races on these if you time trial the participants. So it's got a lot of potential.
so Brian, I need to know how much time I have to get my bike in order. So can you go through the timeline for this? And is it contingent on raising a certain amount of money, then we can go forward and so forth?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you want a bike like the kid in the top right, you're going to have to place an order, and bikes are like 12 months out at least right now. So I would go ahead and place my order for that new, they're called dirt jumpers. They're really fun. But you could actually ride almost any kind of bike except your expensive road bike. I wouldn't recommend it, but other kinds of bikes you can ride in here. But you know, it'd be, in the best of all worlds, we'd be under construction by, say, end of summer if we could raise the funds quickly enough. And that's because, you know, my firm will be involved, myself, and I'm lucky to have two, my partner, Chad Frost, and Tim McGee, who's done the drawing so far. We're all bike riders. We can't wait to get out here. And we can expedite the contracting and the construction, et cetera. And, you know, since we're doing this all privately, we're raising the money privately. You know, we don't have to go through the bidding and all that kind of red tape that the town would have to if it were doing it. Right, Mark?
I
He didn't
will
hear
have
you.
to check on that. I'm sure there are some things, there are some hoops that we're going to lay out that you're going to have to jump through.
Well, you know, we still have to submit the plans to planning and zoning, and,
Right.
and you know, and have site plan review. And this is also going to go to DEEP for a CAM, coastal area management review, you know, just because of the nature of the site. But we're closing in on that. And, you know, like I've been contacted just today, I was contacted by Jeff Poprocki, who's he's the guy that really got the skate park done. You know, he was one of the instigators, and he's also the guy that built most of it. So he wants to help. He's got a son that's totally into this kind of stuff. So we're meeting more and more people like that, who they themselves and their family are really excited about this. But to be realistic, it's likely that we will be raising funds through the summer, and we'll tee this up for starting construction around this time next year, when the weather starts to dry out and warm up, and we have everybody lined up on their schedules. And then I think that's the most realistic timeline.
Brian, question on the types of bikes. You said that you know, probably road bikes aren't the best for this, but is there bikes that you would not want to have on there, like knobby tired mountain bikes? Do they do any damage to this? Or not?
No. The only bike we don't want on here is a motorized bike or
Gotcha.
an e-bike. I'm gonna have to talk to Paul Ward at Pedego up the road, tell him his e-bikes can't ride here. But so yeah, that's not an issue. I mean, the track compacts is very hard, and you know, and these any rubber tire bike should be fine.
Yeah, got it.
Can I ask a question? I was just curious about the bottom line. How much money do you need to start the project?
our goal right now is 55,000.
Okay.
And like I said, we're getting close. Well, I'm being very optimistic because that's me. I think we're closing in on 20,000 now. And we really just kicked off the fundraising campaign, but that's mainly by virtue of our personal outreach. Like some people that work at Pfizer in particular have given us really substantial donations, and those are being matched by the company, which is fantastic. So if you know any Pfizer employees that bike or have kids that bike and mention this to them, that'd be great. Of course, anyone in the community that's interested in this sort of thing, and health and wellness for kids and families is another reason why this would be great project to donate to.
Is this non-motorized or restricted? No electric bikes, no.
Right. Yeah, we don't want
cross-train
any
system?
motorized bikes
Yeah.
in here. We don't want any. And really, the whole point of it is to use your body motion. And I hope all of you will get a chance to come in here and try it out, because it's really a revelation. I know everybody's probably been on a bicycle and you've pedaled along and you've sworn and sweated your way up hills and that sort of thing. But to do something like this is absolutely unlike anything you've ever experienced. And I've been fortunate to ride on a few pump tracks, and I just grin from ear to ear the whole time. It's really something different, and it's a lot of fun.
So are you going to have senior days?
Sure. What a great idea.
I'd like to try.
Brian, this is Jim. A couple of questions.
Sure.
At any one time, how many bikes could you have out on the course
Well,
that you're proposing?
that's a good question. Are you still seeing my slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I'll go back to this one. So it probably will take a person who's going at, a good enough head of steam to make this all the way around, about maybe it's 2 minutes to go all the way around. Maybe not even that much, probably just like a little over a minute to go all the way around this. So you could probably have, say, 3 people at a time, maybe 4. And so it's the sort of thing where if there is a crowd, it's going to be take your turn, and there's going to have to be a little discipline involved, and it will be enforced by the folks that are waiting their turns, I'm sure. But it will be most used on weekends, obviously, and after school. And what I've seen is that when you have like really skillful riders, they'll show up when there's nobody else here, or when it's very, lightly attended. That's when they can go in here and really rip it and do things that you can't have anybody else kind of too close to you when you're doing this, because people can ride these things and can actually skip these berms in the air. They can go over 2 or 3 at a time in the air when they get up enough speed, and it's really acrobatic to watch. So you'll have a combination of people who are really great. And if you have somebody like that in there, all the kids are just going to want to watch. So I think it'll be fine. I mean, if you look at some of the bigger pump track bike parks, and they're easy to find if you just do a little online search. There's one, for example, in Boulder, Colorado, Valmont Bike Park, where they've got a lot of this stuff, and they're just hugely popular. So we may end up finding out that the town of Groton could support more of this sort of thing. It's probably not going to be expanded here because this park isn't very large, but you could do this in other parts of the town. Bentonville, Arkansas is a great example of a town that's embraced biking and mountain biking, and they've put these sorts of things all over town.
Do they have mandatory safety requirements, like requiring helmets? And then finally, is there any type of handicapped accountability that we would have to do?
No, there's really no handicap accountability for this sort of thing. I mean, it's very specific to 2-wheel bikes. If it were paved, then you could actually accommodate other kinds of equipment. If it were paved, skateboarders and scooters, and I've seen images or video, I think, of people in like recumbent bikes that are able to do a little bit of this. Not sure how it would work in here, but so ADA is not really applicable here. And I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Safety requirements like
Safety.
helmets.
Well, it's certainly in the, we'll have an entry sign where we will give the kind of the rules of the road here, and wearing a helmet is definitely one of them. But again, there's nobody here really policing it.
Yeah.
The good news is it's dirt. The sides are grassy. Nothing's more than 2 or 3. The berms are 4 feet high. We're looking at doing one higher part. But other than that, I mean, you're actually more at risk riding down the road and falling on pavement than you would be here.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
and I think if you compared the pump track to the skate park, the likelihood of injury, I think, is higher at the skate park than it would be at this bike park. And,
Yeah.
we have signage at the skate park encouraging folks to wear their helmet. But again, it's not something that's a personal choice. We certainly promote it. So I'm not concerned that the incidence of injury would be greater at the pump track than what we see at the skate park.
What happens if we have a 3-year-old with trainer wheels with his mom out there and a couple teenagers that want to rip through there? You said it's kind of self-policing, or are there any rules of the road as far as giving way to slower traffic? Or
Yeah, Brian, sorry. I was just going to say, it's the same kind of thing at the skate park. You have dad shows up with little kids that's just learning how to use a skateboard, and you've got teenagers that have been doing it for years. And despite the differences in skill levels, there's kind of an understanding amongst all of them. Someone will ride through the course and then stop and wait. And so there's this kind of community communication that takes place even amongst all of these different levels. So I wouldn't see that being any different here at the pump track than it is at the skate park.
Take a look at slide 7. Mom with kid with training wheels.
Yeah.
So you can see her here, yeah.
Yeah.
And dad with the other kid.
Yeah. In our research, we see where some communities have tried building small, just like oval tracks for the little kids, because they thought, okay, we need to have a little training area. And what they found was little kids didn't want to have anything to do with that. They went straight into the main and they learned there. It was like a waste of money to build anything but your main track. And, and that's the reality of it. And I think this is a great way to kind of kick off more of this sort of thing in the town, and maybe other towns will emulate Groton, and there'll be other places nearby where you can go. We just want to promote bicycling in general. And this is a project that Bike Groton felt that was within our means and that we could see done within our lifetime, because sometimes these kinds of bike infrastructure projects take lifetimes, and we didn't want to wait for that.
Well, I think that it sounds like a really great resource for the community,
Absolutely.
Brian, and I really want it done definitely in my lifetime. In fact, sooner is better as far as I'm concerned. Are you tied into the Groton Parks Foundation? In terms of fundraising, you've said it's word of mouth, but how are you getting the word out here to raise money for this thing?
So we're getting the word out through social media. We have a website, bikegroton.org. We have a Facebook page, Bike Groton on Facebook. we've been sharing the information to all of the forums that we're aware of, like the Groton Community Forum. We've been also sharing it in Stonington. There are a number of mountain bike groups in and around here that we've been sharing it with. We're in contact. We're applying for every grant that I am really the one doing all this. And grant applications are tons of fun. So like I said, Chelsea Groton, we just heard from. There are others that we've applied to that are like national level grants we haven't heard back from yet. Some of the bike companies have grant programs. I've asked Groton Utilities. I've submitted to Groton Utilities a detailed plan showing where power and water needs to go, and we did an estimate of how much it would cost to get power and water here. Asked them to help us fund that. And that's really, and it's a lot of personal contact, word of mouth. That's what we're doing. We've got a spreadsheet of all the organizations and individuals and grants that we know about, and we're kind of tracking. We're tracking that, and Mark's office has also offered to help out. They've posted already some PSAs on their Facebook page, and they have a lot of good contacts in the community as well. So that's how we're doing it. I mean, if you have any suggestions, or if you'd like to make a donation, just go to bikegroton.org or contact me directly. We always prefer checks instead of, we have the GoFundMe, like I said, but they take like 5% of it. So yeah, that's so far so good. We've done fairly well.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, Brian, could you rename that site for contact? Is it bike?
Certainly. Bike Groton.
.org.
.org. One word. Bikegroton.org. That's our website. And then if you just and on Facebook, the website is a lot more work, and I don't know how to update it. My daughter is into this web design stuff, but she's in Vermont, so it takes a little work to get her to update it. But Facebook is where we post more current updates. So if you like our Facebook page, Bike Groton on Facebook, then you'll see more current information. There's also a link to the GoFundMe campaign page there, where you can see how much we've raised and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no more questions, we'll let Brian go. Thanks so much, Brian.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your time and attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, we're going to pick up our agenda, and I guess we've got Mark's director's report.
All right, so the department is still working on agency accreditation. I think I mentioned this in the October report. There's 154 standards. Our goal is to have the application completed and submitted to the NRPA by this fall. This time next year, there would be a review team coming to visit us for a week to just confirm policies and practices are in place, and look at the facilities. And then that following fall, so that would be the fall of 22, we should receive hopefully our agency accreditation. And right now there's probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Parks and Recreation departments across the country. And right now there's 183 that are accredited. So we would be one of the top 3% of departments across the country with accreditation. The rebranding of the senior center, I mentioned this again. I brought it up in the fall. We're getting close to completing a survey, an open online survey with 3 different options for rebranding the senior center. We're waiting for that to come back, and we'll be making a presentation to the council on a name change for the senior center. As was mentioned earlier in this meeting, the department wrote a grant to the Department of Transportation, and we received a $344,000 community connectivity grant that will allow us to extend the bike path from the trolley trail out to Midway Oval and then back into Sutton Park and through Sutton Park and tie into the bike path that's along Route 1. Work on that will probably begin in 2022. So as you're all aware, the department's been, just like everybody else, has been struggling, trying to deal with COVID and all the restrictions. And I am really proud of the senior center staff. They have, over the last 6 to 8 months, raised $35,000 and created a community first meals program where we handed out 6,500 meals to folks that live in Groton. The kitchen staff continue to serve grab and go meals and are continuing to do that. So even though the senior center has not been open for the last 14 months or so, we served nearly as many meals in this past year as we have when we're open. So I think that's a real credit to the staff. We've introduced a number of virtual programs. We're running programs outside when the weather permits. We are gradually reopened. We reopened the fitness center 2 weeks ago with a limited number of people. They have to sign up ahead of time. They can only stay there for so long. And we also found that people really liked doing treasure hunts. So every month we would do we'd place different objects in different parks and encourage people to get out. We also were doing the outside walks, which I think I shared with you the hike from the Outdoor Adventure Traveling Seniors Group, OATS. They went to the Copp property, I think probably about a month ago. In October, I mentioned the disc golf course. We're continuing to work to get that open. Hopefully that will be open sometime this summer. And I guess most recently, our budget was passed on Monday night, and we are going to have a new bathroom in Sutton Park after 19 years of not having a bathroom in Sutton Park, which is it's a true community park. And we've had a portalet there for the last 19 years. And we're finally going to get a bathroom. And the Athletic Fields Task Force has been working probably the last 12 to 14 months on coming up with looking at the shortage of fields, which has existed since before I got here, and looking at solutions. They presented that to the council, to the RTM, and the next step is the council and the RTM approved $200,000 to continue the study to come up with kind of more refined plans, looking, including surveying and looking at all the issues that we might run into at particular sites. We're looking to expand fields at the high school, at Sutton Park, and at Colchester School, which is closing this spring once the school year ends, and is being turned over to the town. And plans are to put some athletic fields in there. And the Athletic Fields Task Force is looking at both synthetic turf and natural turf fields and trying to figure out what is the best use and the most practical and kind of cost benefit analysis and all of that. Golf course, we remained open during the entire pandemic, and that the pandemic has been a bright spot for golf. Our membership is up 45%, And we're continuing to have a banner year. I just met with the golf course staff today, and we're still just jammed anytime there's good weather. So all of those things have kept us pretty busy since last October.
Hey, a quick housekeeping thing. A couple of us had a power outage. I got kicked off and got back in. John is stuck in the attendees, and I don't have the power to bring him in. He
Okay,
just sent a chat that he can hear us, but Dom needs to run the meeting. Mark, if you've got the power to switch him over from attendee to panelist.
I did. I just did that.
Okay, great.
Thank you for drawing that to my attention.
All right.
So that kind of summarizes the director's report.
All right.
Mark, a question, if I
Yes.
could, Mark.
Yep.
Where you're wanting to expand some fields to meet the
Thanks, Nick.
shortest Sutton Park, Fitch High School, and where?
Claude
The third one?
Chester. Claude Chester.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mark? All right, great. Mark, thanks so much. Okay, next piece is election of officers. I'll entertain any motions.
I'd like to nominate somebody for secretary. Anybody?
I think at this point, you're just talking about the COP board.
Correct.
Yeah. We're not doing these together. Okay, never mind. Withdraw that. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
We just extended your term, Ray.
Uh-oh.
You must have had your thing muted there, Ray.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I was breaking up.
Yeah.
Any motions on slate of officers? Any recommendations? Any nominees?
This is Jim. I'd like to move the current slate of officers continue in their current positions if they're willing to do that.
Okay, I'm willing.
I'm willing.
Ray's muted, but I
Yes.
think he's not, and he's willing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing. Yes.
Okay, all in favor of the slate of officers?
Is there a second?
Second from Andy?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
thank you. Well done.
Okay, we're, the monthly trail surveys. Mark, has anybody been doing those? I don't have a list of what everybody's months are.
Yeah, I have that in front of me.
I can't remember. I haven't filled one out, but I've been over there quite a lot in the last.
Okay, I try to remember to send out a reminder. The first, I have it in my calendar. It pops up every month to send out a reminder because we're doing the same thing at Pequot Woods.
Right.
And I have to admit, sometimes I forget to send out reminders, but I know Dick walks over there quite a bit.
Everybody
And-
knows when their month is, so,
Yeah, I can send out that schedule if you'd like, just as a reminder.
Send it out. I have it, I'm sure, but we can send it out just to remind everybody, but
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can never remember.
still think
Yeah,
it's valuable to do.
Yeah, I think I did one in January or February. It was cold and sent you in. Don't think I found anything. Sent you-
Okay.
I did one last August and I did send you something, Mark, in the fall.
Okay.
I'm up this month and
Somebody has other months that they want to do or want to change.
I owe you a report for April, Mark.
Yeah, that's the report that I'm failing on.
Yeah.
I've been there a couple of times and haven't written a report.
Well, I guess I look at this as no news is good news. So if there was, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to, if there's an issue, I'm sure would let me know.
With the number
I
of
had no issues. The only thing but I'm finding it everywhere, is the number of ticks is alarmingly high.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it is out of control.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you're walking with a 4-year-old and you can take, after 15 minutes, you have to take 10, 12 of them off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Mark, I actually, as you recall, you gave me the flagging paint and I reblazed the purple trail that really needed it. The other
Yep.
trails, the tree blazing probably could sometime soon
Okay.
use updating the yellow and orange trails, maybe the green too.
Okay.
My only other observation, and I don't know what you guys feel, it's as dry as I ever remember. I haven't been there since this last rain, but it's pretty dry in there.
Yeah, we're down about 4 inches on the year, coming off a dry year last year.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to maintain that schedule. Everybody's going to try to furnish a report for Mark, but I think it still has value.
Mhm.
Bring somebody to do a tick check.
Bless you. Well, bring one of those sticky rollers you have for sweaters. That's what I see people are using now with their dogs, everybody. Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Really? Huh.
Great. All right. John's back.
Just in the nick of time. Thanks, Dick. I saw 6 of you and I heard people talking, but I couldn't.
No, we had a little flicker on the power here too, and it knocked me right out.
Yeah. My light didn't go off, but my computer went off for some reason. So, but good to be back, guys. Moving on to Groton Parks Foundation business. Paul could not make it. However, he did send out his report, and I did email it to you earlier today. Hope you had a chance to look at it. He kind of gave a summary in his email. Currently, we have over $13,700 in the account. Of that, $9,400 is restricted, except $1,800 of that is actually for the sign project that in the end, they didn't need our money for the sign project. So I don't know if we have to do something to move that into the other category or not, but so I don't think the sign project's going to need $1,800 because it's up there. Or shall we leave it there, Mark, for something in the future?
Yeah, let me check if there's like software upgrades that, with a fee for that coming up or something else. Let me check before we move that money
Okay,
to unrestricted.
okay, we can do that.
right.
He also reported that we received $1,250 from Charter Oak and that we gave the grant for the Call Hub program to the senior center, which we have a report on that. The bottom line is that there is a little over $4,600 in unrestricted money. So later on here, if we want to approve the grant for the pump track, we do have funds that we can use to do that with. So are there any questions on the treasurer's report?
The only thing is I just will report that we did get a matching grant. It's probably reflected in his report somewhere, but we did get that. It was $250 that they matched of donations, so $500
From Charter Oak, right?
from Charter Oak.
Yeah, that's part of it, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? I guess back to you, Mark. Donations for the past 6 months.
Okay, well, we haven't been doing many programming or much programming the last 6 months. But we did have donations of $139 come in. That was through registrations. And we did also receive yesterday a $500 donation. And that was from Carol Pratt, and John knows Carol. Her husband passed away a few weeks ago, and she stopped in yesterday to give the Parks Foundation a $500 check.
Wow, that's very nice. We need to thank her for that.
Yeah, so John, I was going to ask if you would craft a letter to thank her for that.
I would be more than happy to.
Okay.
I know Carol well, as you do too, so
Yeah,
a wonderful lady. Worked for many
Yeah.
years at the senior center
yeah.
and was very active in theater as well. But so thank you, Mark, for that. That was very generous of her. Moving on to unfinished business, sustaining membership. We received a attachment handout for that. This is something that I guess Mark and his office and Dick have been working on for a while. It is quite an extensive amount of information. I don't know if you all had a chance to look at it or not. Mark, Dick, you want to tell us
Yeah,
something about it?
Yeah, I don't know if if I have the ability to share. Let me see.
Is Mark the host? Oh, okay.
Can you see this, guys?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
No, that's amazing. I didn't know I had the power. Yeah, this is what I presented last time, and I've monkeyed around with it, and I apologize for not monkeying around with it until like a couple days ago. I sent it to John and Mark. I think there's 3 parts here, and I can scroll down through it. I think the first 2 parts we could maybe move ahead with and get them loaded up to let's see where. Get them loaded up to our website because they really don't make any commitment on the board's part. The first part, naming and sponsorship opportunities. This is just again that Groton Parks and the town park and rec department would work with folks, and we've got to maybe name a trail, park welcome station, bridges, benches, educational stations. It really is informational in nature, does not commit us or anyone else to anything, just throws out possibilities. Second part, other than this, I just pulled some boilerplate from who knows where. Plan giving. Again, this is really just a kind of a laundry list of ways that people could potentially give to Groton Parks Foundation as far as a bequest or stock gift or whatever. Again, it doesn't commit, it's informational in nature, would be good to get it on our website, doesn't commit us to anything. The third part is more controversial. This was business memberships, different levels, contributor, steward, guardian, and what we do for them if they gave at that level, and personal memberships. You know, life membership, patron, supporter. What concerns me is, especially if you look under personal, I was trying to come up with something we could give people for giving at a certain level. I did do some research. It's easy enough to have things like caps printed up. If we have access, as I believe we do, to our website, it's easy enough to have someone's name or business recognized on the website. What concerned me is I wanted, like, if you look at life there, I said, oh, invitation to annual gala. And I thought, oh, that was a real nice thing if someone wanted to give us $1,000 to give them an invitation. Now, who knows? We're in COVID. We didn't do the gala. We come out, I assume we're going to plan a gala when things are back to normal. But I guess what worries me is if we commit to, hey, you give us $500, we're going to give you this. Can we follow through with all these things? So as I say, the first 2 sections, I think, and if everyone wants to, I apologize for the lateness of this. I could send it out again for people to review, but I think the first 2 sections that we went through are, as I say, if no one has any heartburn over you know, the sums, or you know, or someone says, oh, we don't do park welcome station. As I say, this is kind of loosey-goosey, just to kind of give folks that visit our website an idea. Same thing, plan giving is really just hey, these are ways you could give to us. I'd be a little hesitant until we really hash out And you guys, and the foundation would also have to approve me to go out and buy, if we're gonna give out caps or logos or something like that, I'd have to go to a design group, easy enough to do. But I'd have to go there, have something designed, and I'd have to have some type of budget to get some supply of these things for us to hand out with donations.
Dick, on your initial list there, the naming list, have you actually thought about specific trails? I mean, I think most of the town trails already have a name on them. So it may not be a naming, it may be more of a sponsorship deal.
Yeah, you think is it a name that we have on them, or is it a color we have on them?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, I think
I
most
mean, I
of
think the
them,
concept is great. It's just a matter of, can we implement it?
Yeah. Well, and we might have a problem with, and I've run into this with the Land Conservancy, if, let's say, Monsanto came to us and said they wanted to name a trail for $100,000, then all of a sudden we've got a problem potentially with a conflict between a Land Conservancy and a chemical company. Same thing here, I guess. I guess Groton Parks and Rec would have the final decision on something like that. But if Putin came in and said, I want to name this after the Donald Trump Trail or something, not to get into politics.
so I think it's a great thing that you've put together here, Dick. It really looks terrific. But I am a little skittish about the naming piece of those opportunities. To spend $10,000 to name a trail after yourself seems cheap, frankly. That's inexpensive. Usually when I think of naming, even rooms in buildings, it's you're talking another zero or two. So I guess I'm just a little wary of putting something like that out. And as you say, having people, I don't mind getting the money in, but you're tacking names on things that we might.
Well, we could.
The other question I had, just to get
Yep.
while my mic is not muted, is that if we looked into sort of the cost of these things, and are the costs comparable to the amount we're asking for? In other words, a park welcome station, a bridge, benches, things like that. Can we do a bench? I would think you could do one for $2,000.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that the cost that we're that we're saying that we want will at least pay for the thing that they would have the opportunity perhaps of naming.
Yeah, and these were kind of off the top of my head, so
Sure,
maybe I need a reality check from Mark on, a bench. God, if we can't build a bench for 2,000, then this is like the Army's toilet seats or the Air Force toilet seats.
It's not building it. You buy the bench for $200, and then you've got 15 people, 3 of whom are actually doing the work, and the other 12 are pointing to where the bench goes. You know how it is.
I could also, kind of like this. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, I can take some time and do a little bit more research into some of these different options and look at pricing. Now, benches right now, I'm working with a group of pickleball players who lost a member during COVID, and they want to purchase a bench with a inscription on the bench, or a plaque added to the bench, and a 5-foot 100% recycled plastic bench is $1,100.
Yeah.
So, 2,000 isn't out of the question, because the whole purpose of this is not just to, get them to pay for just the bench, but to get them to pay for a little bit more and then generate some more money. Bridges, you talk about bog bridges, that's $5,000 would certainly pay for a pretty long section of a bog bridge. A different type of bridge, $5,000 wouldn't get you 10 feet. we're putting in a bridge behind Cutler Middle School. Well, we're not, the Board of Ed is now including it as part of the new school, but that's $65,000. So
Across the big stream, yeah, the stream
yes,
there,
yeah, exactly. Yep, yeah. So, and the department, as we've gone through agency accreditation, we also have a sponsorship policy, and we could apply that to this so that we avoid the situation where you described, where we have a trail running through a swamp, calling it, the Trump Trail or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will take a look at this and send something out to everybody after I've had a chance to kind of price out a education station. And I should be able to do that because I think, Dick, what you're thinking about is probably something similar to what we did at the Copp property.
Exactly.
Where we've got, so $2,000 is maybe a little bit low when you look at the frame and everything, but I think I could price out one very similar to what we've done there.
Yeah,
I
got 10,000 down here, but
oh, is it 10?
yeah, for park welcome station, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking education station.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Maybe what we should do, Mark, what you look at is just restrict it to the ones that are affordable, at least at this point, and doable without too much of an effort. The other thought is, I know you've got some, whatever you want to call them, memorial benches now, but you also got a few places where you've got people that wanted memorial trees.
Right. In fact, Carol, she, in addition to the check for $500, she's paying for a 10-foot fall fiesta maple tree that we're going to plant at Paquonic Plains Park, near the playground, and have a sign there in memory of her husband. She did the same thing when her sister passed away.
Yeah.
So
I
I think I would probably
Trees.
add trees to
Definitely.
this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
and
no,
I think for many of these things, and if you're talking about trails specifically for what the value is for this area, I think you just go to the Pequot Sipos, the Coogan Farm, all of those, there's a little shed with a couple picnic tables that the Hams gave. There are trails that are named there, everything that you're talking about here, I think they sold. And that would be a rough equivalent of what the values might be.
I know I volunteer over there, and I know their new director, Davnet, pretty well. So I could bounce, if you guys are okay with that, I could bounce this off her. Should be no conflict of interest. They're doing their thing, we're doing our thing. And
and if you run into any issues there, I know a lot of people on the board, and they'd be happy.
Okay. I'll take this to Davnet. I think the idea about the trees is great. And I kind of agree, we could probably open these ranges up if Mark would put eyes on it, and also maybe just keep it to a generalized sponsorship. If someone came in and said, I want to drop $250,000, we'll name the town, rename the town after them. But if they want to spend $500, then maybe it's just they get recognition as a trail maintenance sponsor.
Good idea.
Okay, so Mark, can we work back and forth? Maybe Mark, John, and I work back and forth on this a little bit more?
Yep.
Okay, and as I say, the plan giving stuff is boilerplate, but I am very hesitant with membership, not that they're knocking at the door trying to get memberships to the Groton Park Foundation, but I don't want to make commitments for the foundation because there is a give and take here. You give us some money, we give you some swag.
Exactly.
On the business list, I would bump all those numbers by a 0.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if it's a business, and I would think they would, you know, to pay $100 for a business to be connected to and supporter of the Groton Parks Foundation, I think would be cheap for a business, but maybe I'm
Okay,
old-fashioned.
okay.
And again, it depends on what business you're going to. If you're going to Pfizer, it's one thing, but if you're
Right.
going to the,
Yeah.
you know, the
Mom and
Gus's
Pop.
Pizza on 184 up the road, it's going to be
Yeah.
a very different number.
Well, and that's where we could maybe keep contributor as an entry level, and I don't disagree with Alan. A business, if you're going to be a visionary business, maybe you need more skin in the game, $5,000, $10,000. So, yeah, as I said, the ranges were just something I kind of threw out there. Same thing with looking at individuals. I don't know for $1,000 if you really get that much bang for your buck. Yeah, I don't know.
Now
So-
that's a life membership for $1,000, basically.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah.
Well, if we put on galas every year.
Well,
Oh.
I know that a number of organizations that solicit me for money have dropped their lifetime memberships because they find that they get much more value out of a recurring stream than a one-shot deal, even if it's a fairly large number.
Mhm.
We have, with the Land Conservancy, found the same thing. We, in some ways, have some buyers or sellers remorse, giving $1,000 out, but then other folks will argue that these people got a lifetime membership and then they keep on giving every year.
Oh, I see.
You know, that they're willing to get, you know, don't bother me with a membership renewal. And with Avalonia, we actually send out a membership renewal. That's one ask and a fundraiser. So they'll say, okay, I don't want to be bugged every year with membership renewal. I'll give you $1,000 to stop bugging me. But we send our fundraising request out, and most of them will put some skin in the game every year.
Mhm.
But yeah, your point is well taken. We've discussed this.
Any other questions for Dick? Thank you, Dick.
Okay, I will, I'll make some patches and some fixes and continue to work with Mark and John to get this maybe ready for prime time when we see each other in October, right?
Sounds good. The next item, is this something you put on here, Mark, or Denison Pequot Naturalist Hike?
Oh, that's me too.
Yeah, Dick asked to have this put on.
Yeah, I offered last meeting to try to get in touch with Maggie Jones, the former director of the Nature Center, and to go through her to get to Steve Fagan, who does the weekly trail or natural area article in the day. And I eventually did run into Maggie, and I think I shared emails with John and Mark on this. Maggie loves the Copp property. They were she goes out with Steve every week and a merry band of other travelers, and they visit various parks and open spaces and whatever in the region. And then Steve does that article that anyone that gets the day sees every week. Maggie is enthused about doing something at Copp, said they wanted to do something at Copp. She's talked to Steve, who is the journalist, and they have us on the schedule somewhere. And when I get notification, it'd be good for a bunch of us, especially what I'll call the heir apparent, Mr. Copp here, to show up and maybe give them a tour of the property. But I think we could get a nice
Hiking boots
article.
out, Alan.
Yeah, get a nice article by Mr. Fagan in the day on the Copp property.
That would be great.
Just
Yeah,
let me know when.
Yeah,
in parallel to that, I contacted Steve Fagan back after Dick and I talked last fall sometime. I said, kind of a heads up, we'd like to do that sometime. And I just wrote him again yesterday, and asked if he would be willing to do that with Maggie Jones, and if we could get a geologist. There's a lot of geographical features out there
yeah.
for the same thing. So there's two avenues, two forks going towards that.
You
Good,
know,
Dick.
if we keep pounding on them, we're on the list. We'll just
Yeah,
give them time to work it into the hopper.
sure.
Thanks, Dick.
Okay.
Moving on to the election of officers. Before I bring this up, I mean, I think last meeting we talked a little bit about whether Neil is going to continue on the Groton Parks Foundation Board. Does anybody talk to him, or can they contact him, or?
I might be able to get in touch with him if my old contacts are good. Has a very difficult family situation. His wife had dementia or Alzheimer's. And he was dealing with that. And so if you want, I may still, from the Shellfish Commission, may still have his email and his phone number. I could try to shake the tree.
I also occasionally see him because we have a friend who had a traumatic brain injury, and she happens to be right next to Neil's wife, and we sit outside and talk through the windows. So I say hi.
Okay, so
He's
they did
there
put
quite
her
a
in
lot.
Yeah, okay, she's in a facility now.
Yeah, she's at Academy Point. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
If he chooses to retire from the board, then obviously we have a opening. So I guess kind of put that in the back of your mind too. And once we know that, we can put that even on the website and see if we can get some folks, because we actually did have some potential people a while back that may have been interested.
Be nice to have somebody younger.
What are you implying?
Wait a minute.
Come on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's been a lot of freezing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, like, I think we overloaded the system.
Oops.
Somebody who was that just fell off. Maybe I'll turn my camera off and that might help, huh?
Yeah, that's what I did, just to see if we can get back.
It's frozen.
Andy is definitely frozen. What, do we have any votes that we need to, let me look at the agenda here.
Election of officers.
Yeah, well, that's a big one.
Yeah, let's give them a minute and see if they try to jump back on.
So while they're gone, I can propose that we reinstate the current officers, whether they want to or not. We could add that to the minutes.
Recommendation in motion. I'll second that.
Yeah, okay, we got it. Now all we have to do when they come back, we just say, we need you to vote aye. I'm really excited about that pump track. I think that sounds like fun and like a real positive thing for kids to do.
Yeah,
And for adults.
I think it's great.
I'd be happy to,
think it's
maybe I'll contribute to that personally, but I'd be happy to have the Parks Foundation to contribute.
Indeed.
I think it's going to be a great asset to the community. I'm just, I would wonder about, with all these motorbikes and things that kids have these days, it'd be an attractive place for them to cruise around.
Well,
Provisionally.
you can't go fast on it, you know? I mean, the corner's a 10-foot radius. That's a tight corner. But yeah, you know, and then I think if somebody got caught riding one, there'd be a consequence for sure.
Absolutely.
Like a negative one. I was just seeing where
I think
a lifetime.
it would have enough use that would be, the people that are using it properly would probably police it pretty well and
Yeah.
call authorities if need be.
So I'm seeing where a lifetime membership to the Sierra Club is $1,000. Just as a point of reference.
I don't see anybody trying to get back on. We still only have 4 panelists.
What, did lightning strike down there or what?
I'm not sure. I was on the other night with the RTM and there was 36 of us or something.
I think the biggest one I've been on is over 200.
Whew.
It was a wedding.
Gee,
It was really neat. It was the most amazing wedding. They'd planned it very well, and the bride and groom were in New York. The parents of the bride were in Houston. The parents of the groom were in India. And there were a lot of attendees who wouldn't have been able to attend even without COVID. It was a wonderful ceremony. I mean, the whole thing was terrific.
It was a wedding cake.
yeah.
There was a wedding cake, but they had told everybody to dress up, and they had told everybody that there was a signature drink they had to mix themselves. So everybody had something to drink.
Yeah, John, I got John on the phone here.
I should look at the chat. John's saying he can hear but can't see.
Okay, well, we've got, we've got a couple of votes here.
Yeah.
We've had a motion to renominate the existing officers. That's a big surprise to you, I'm sure. And so there are three of us on right now. Ray and Alan and myself are on. Mark is still on.
Yep.
Hey Siri, call Andy Halsey.
That's what we're going to vote on.
Oh, there's Dick.
The other
He's
thing,
back.
it looks like
Yeah, the power is just constantly flickering over here, so I'm gonna complain to GU.
Dick is back on.
Hey,
Okay.
Andy, how are you?
That's the only other vote we've got, I guess.
I'm doing fine. Are you going to log back on?
All right. John's he's back with power, so he's going to try to get back on.
Sounds like Alan may be talking to Andy.
Yeah, I got Andy. Do you want to vote? Let's see. Should we have folks vote, Dom?
Yeah, we can have them vote on. I got John on the phone, so we've nominated the existing slate of officers.
Okay, so are you in favor of voting for the existing slate of officers for the next term?
I opposed. No one's opposed so far. No extensions. So
Okay, you opposed
that's moved.
or in favor of you going with the same slate of officers? Okay, so Andy's in favor, Dom.
Okay, unanimous then.
So we're unanimous on that one. And of course, the people who are being voted for aren't here, so that's good.
We got him on the phone.
Mark is not here.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, Mark is,
Paul,
I'm here.
It's
he's got
not,
no video.
Oh, Mark is here with no video. Dom's on. Ray's on. There's Mark. He's
Oops.
returned. And John Silsby's on phone, and you're on phone.
all right. The other.
Is Andy in the waiting room?
We have one attendee in the waiting room, yeah.
That might be Andy.
No, it's John. I
No,
just
it's John.
promoted him to
Oh, it's John.
panelist.
There's John. John's coming up.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, the power is just, wow, third world country.
Oh,
last
did you
hour.
have a power-
Holy
power
smokes,
problem, Andy?
this is a challenge to get this meeting through.
Well, hopefully the next one will actually be in person.
All right. Well, you can just hang with
Dick,
me.
what's happening? Why are we losing our power?
I don't know. I don't know.
Not
It
sure.
keeps flickering over here.
You must be on mute or you
Can
didn't
you
get
hang us?
connected with.
You guys on what are you on Eversource?
I'll just go back to the original link, but I guess.
We lost Andy?
Yes.
Got him on the phone. Hey, I can FaceTime. Well, maybe I can't FaceTime you if you don't have an internet connection.
No, I mean, no.
Oh,
They just lost him.
yeah, right. Oh, there he is. Hey, there he is. He's here.
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
You're like a ventriloquist.
Yes. I don't know what's the matter with my,
We're almost done.
going in
And then I'll take her for a walk.
That's good. What else do we need to vote on before the whole thing completely blows up?
All right.
The grant application, John, right?
How much are they asking for? Remind me.
$1,000.
Yeah, I approve.
I
I,
approve that.
John, are you on there? Can you hear us?
Andy can hear us.
I can hear you, yeah, and I would vote aye.
Go ahead. I don't think John can hear us. Can you hear us, John?
John,
Yeah, he's got no audio,
Yeah.
although he should.
Give him a thumbs up. I'm gonna vote yes.
Yeah. Before we vote, do we want to make this a cost sharing thing that they have to raise 1,000 for the 1,000 we give them, or
Well,
you need a match?
a match?
we've already raised, so I don't know.
Yeah, they probably will just use something they've raised already.
Well, I could just give them 1,000. You tell them they can use it for a match if they want. They're going to get it regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yep.
That's
The
what you,
the only question I had is if it never materializes, they have to give it back.
Yeah, we should have a provision. Yep.
Absolutely.
And probably give them a date so it's not like the Coast Guard Museum over in New London.
all right.
So we make a motion to approve the grant for
I so moved to approve the grant with a caveat that if it's not done, they return the funds.
okay, that's a
I
motion.
would vote for that. I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? John didn't hear us, so
I'm on.
Ron,
Oh, there
For some
it is.
reason, the volume went off on the thing.
we had a motion, John, to fund the $1,000. As long as the track happens. If it doesn't happen, they would return the money.
I think I'm in.
I'll second the motion.
It's already, we had a motion and seconded, so,
I don't see you, but that's all right.
but, so we voted, you vote in favor of that? Everybody voted in favor?
I voted in
Yes.
favor of that.
Okay,
Andy's
I
in
see
favor.
all of you.
motion passed.
So, Mark, can you let Andy in?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, he's waiting.
He's been knocking on the door for half an hour there.
No, he hasn't.
Oh, I'm a panelist. I've been promoted.
But we don't see you yet.
I thought Alan was a ventriloquist for a while there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey, Andy.
Holy
All the way
smokers. What you gotta do to have a meeting? Holy.
Yeah.
What else do we need to vote on? Quick, let's do it
Fast.
before the whole thing blows up. Dick, you look like you're in the dark, literally.
Oh, well, yeah, I just don't, I'll turn a light on.
You don't have to. Don't bother.
Good.
Don't touch anything, Dick.
Yeah.
We need you. There's two more things on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Did everybody see the report on the call hub update?
Yeah.
That's the grant we gave to the senior center a few months ago for $500.
Yes.
Sorry. somebody-
While we're still here, Mark, you want to say something about fundraising?
Yes, so 2 years ago, we did a gala and we haven't really talked about what we plan to do moving forward. I did talk to Jessica this morning. One of the items that the council approved that we could move forward on was something that the Groton Parks Foundation had said they would support. And that was a fence around Paquonic Plains, the Terracentennial Playground at Paquonic Plains Park. We were approached by a mom who has 7 kids. 2 are on the autism spectrum, and her kids and parents of other kids that are on the autism spectrum, one of the things that the kids like to do is kind of run. And she said it's difficult to bring them to Paquonic Plains, which is or to the Terrace Centennial Playground, which is fully accessible, but there's no fence. And so it's difficult when she goes there, because if, one of the kids decides to take off, it's a challenge to, manage that situation. And there's other parents that share that same experience. And she approached us about the idea of putting a fence around it. We thought it was a good idea, put it into the capital improvement program, with the caveat that we would raise all of the money. And so Jessica and I were talking this morning about perhaps doing something a little bit different than a gala for this year, and doing a fall event at the Copp property. We had, I think the staff had come to the Groton Parks Foundation or the Copp board 2 years ago about doing a mud run. And I recall that everybody thought it was a great idea. So we're thinking that maybe instead of a gala, we would do a mud run that would be kind of family-based, and the money that we raised would go to the Parks Foundation, who then would turn around and make a contribution to and put this fence up. But if everybody wants to do a gala, then we would move forward and do a gala. But I just wanted to kind of get a sense of what the wish of the Copp board and the Parks Foundation was, because the next time we meet in October, it will be too late to really start planning a gala or some other event. So we kind of need to make a decision, not necessarily tonight, but shortly, about what we'd like to do moving forward.
I think something outside might be safer. I'm hoping we are going back to so-called normal, but who knows what the next season will bring as far as flu and COVID variants and who knows what. So I would think we'd be safer planning an outdoor venue than an indoor venue.
Mhm.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would-
it would
I
be
would
nice to
agree.
bring people to the Copp property too.
Yeah.
Well,
Mark,
that
is
was,
there any-
yeah, I was gonna say, that was one of the other things that we kind of saw this as a double bonus. We perhaps bring people out to the Copp property that haven't been out there, and we're also fundraising for kind of a family-based project.
I think a program out there is still a great idea. And be anxious to pursue that.
Okay.
I know the, what, Fields of Fire, whatever you call them here on what's it, Knowing Ledger, or whatever it is. They've had one in the past. Are they going to have another one, or do we have any idea?
The two that they had were in partnership with the Parks and Recreation Department.
Oh,
And the gentleman that we were working with, he left and took a position someplace else, and the ownership just didn't feel that they could, didn't have the manpower to continue to support that. So they have not done that since, and I'm not aware that they are intending to do it. So we did it for 2 years, and then that gentleman left. We obviously haven't done it in the last 14 months, but it was well attended, and people had a great time.
oh yeah, it was. No, I was at one of them, not
Yeah.
as a participant, but there.
Yeah.
Mark, is there any idea what kind of revenue that could generate? I mean, I know that fence is a pretty expensive item, so.
Well, we've got a quote from the fence company in town, and I think it was a little over $11,000. And what our approach to this was we were going to kind of come up with a nice graphic showing the playground and the fence, and then organize a meeting on a Saturday morning when there's, 200 kids and 100 parents there, and do kind of a informational session and try to get parents on board for the planning part of this. And just by having a large group of people to help us plan, when it comes to promoting, we would utilize all of their contacts to promote this out and hopefully build an even larger group of people that would participate in it.
And
As far as fundraising goes,
Yes.
I would, if you get a group together, I put the hat out.
Yeah, well, I mean, there would be a fee to participate in the mud run, and, the money, whatever money we've raised after expenses had been paid, would go to,
Okay.
and we would also probably set up a GoFundMe page, and steer people towards the Groton Parks Foundation with a restricted donation to the fence. So, and I think we're also talking about reaching out to, some corporate sponsors, because I think if we, if you will, package this presentation the right way about, this being inclusive and whatnot, that we'll get a strong response from businesses and other groups in town.
and it was Luther Fence,
Luciferice, yes, thank you. I couldn't think
because
of who it
they've
was.
been very, very generous
Yeah.
to nonprofits in the past. So
Yeah. Then we got the quote from them.
Yeah.
And it would be a chain link fence, probably 4 feet high, probably black vinyl, because black tends to disappear. It doesn't show up as much as a galvanized fence.
yeah.
The overhead can't be terribly high to do something like that, I wouldn't think. But I can see one problem being the amount of parking that's there.
Yeah, well, last time when we were going through the planning process, we had actually approached the church across the street and down the road a little bit, and they were receptive to us using their parking lot. And I think we would run a bus from there down into the Copp parking lot.
That works.
Yeah.
So we could give a bonus prize for the participant who came off with the largest number of ticks that we could then eliminate.
Yeah.
I think
Get
Andy
paid
already
by the
won that
tick.
one.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my roller along.
Yeah. It's pretty scary when you do it. Anyway.
Or we could charge them for every tick that we find, a buck a tick.
No, we want them to, we can,
Yeah.
Yeah.
About-
Bring
So
your
would you-
possum.
Do you want us to endorse this idea, or do you want to think on it a little bit? I mean,
I certainly think-
sounds great to
I think
me.
the idea is great. I mean, it should be something outdoors, I'm sure,
Yeah, and then maybe we can go back to the gala, another year after, like Dick said, when hopefully things kind of get back to the old normal.
Well, the mud run, it can have sort of a picnic atmosphere. You could get some
Yeah.
sort of a band to play music,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
you've got
At
that,
the end of these things, either my wife or I have participated in swims and stuff like that. There's usually basically a party at the end.
right. Yeah, and people
And you've got the
want to
field.
participate for the experience, not necessarily just to do the mud run and get dirty, but to be part of a bigger experience.
Yeah, and you get a T-shirt or something and
Yeah, yeah,
a ribbon that says that you're covered in
you're
mud.
dirty. Yeah, I'm dirty.
Get some food trucks out there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a great-
Yeah, yeah.
Trucks, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
yeah. Okay,
everybody in favor?
Yeah, I think we got a good
Aye.
consensus. We're good.
okay. Excellent,
We'll make Jim the chairman since he's not here.
perfect.
All in favor, Jim is chairman.
You know, have we ever had a vote where we voted no on something? I'm just curious.
This is a real amenable group.
And yes,
I don't think we ever have.
I don't think we've had any earth-shatteringly controversial issues in which on which we are voting.
So I guess that's everything. Anything
Oh my
else
gosh.
anybody wants to bring up?
Well, it's nice to see you. I guess that's what I'd like to bring up. I look forward to our gatherings in person, other than Zoom, but it's nice to see people at the other end of the computer.
Hopefully come the fall, we'll be able to really see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Or
sure.
for our summer walk. Don't forget that.
True, yeah.
Yes, true.
Yeah, John, do you want to schedule that next meeting? Is that,
October 6th, according to the agenda.
Okay.
So
Yep.
you want to
Yep.
talk about a summer walk? We didn't do that, did we?
we did not.
Mr.
We could do-
Chairman of the Copp Board?
Yeah, we could definitely do a tick walk.
Yeah,
We did the mosquito walk.
we did the mosquito.
Yeah.
This is the tick walk.
Ticks are next on the agenda.
Mhm.
Well, the ticks would actually be least probably in August. Just saying.
Lease or least?
Least. They'd be
Yeah, if it gets too hot, they don't like it.
too hot and dry.
Yeah.
They don't like. I don't know if that's a factor, but
So we want to entertain August?
Yeah,
Fine with me.
All right.
Jim just sent an email. John, I had a power outage here. that- I think more of us had the power outage than didn't have the power
Yeah, I
outage.
definitely,
And the only ones that didn't were the ones that aren't local here, I think.
yeah, I
So,
don't think it extended into Massachusetts as far as, I hope not.
I have not had a power outage. Thank you.
City of Groton, no power outage here.
Yeah, this is, we had one the other night too.
Wow. So,
All right, what's your pleasure on the day of the week? Any specific day of the week better?
Oh, in August, it doesn't matter to me.
And then time frame? Time?
Probably don't want to go at it like 1 o'clock if it's August,
No.
either in the morning or the evening.
We all do mornings?
And are we talking toward the end of August, middle of August, the week of the 15th, 16th?
Whenever it's good.
I'm going to be, not that I have to be along for this, I'm going to be out for a climb in Washington State from about the 18th through the 23rd.
Nice. What are you going to climb?
Mount Rainier,
Great.
this
that's
time for
terrific.
sure.
Good for you.
maybe we should do it the week before to get,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
might be the last time you see when I have the big one at 14,000
right.
feet.
We'll get you in shape.
I've been working on it.
All right, so the week of the 8th,
Sure.
8th, 9th.
you want to do it weekday, weekend?
For me, probably weekdays are better.
Likewise.
Okay, weekdays?
How about a Friday, the 13th?
Oh, I love those days.
Wonderful.
I like that.
Friday the 13th in the morning. What time?
9, too early?
9 o'clock.
9 good?
9's good.
All right,
9
Friday,
a.m., August
August 13th,
13th.
9 a.m.
Okay.
Your own roller or we're going to share?
I'm not sharing my personal roller with anyone.
Okay,
So when I get off here, I'll let Jim know since he emailed me that we're walking on the 13th. So, but anything else for the good of the Copp or the Groton
Order.
Parks Foundation? It's good seeing you, Alan, Andy, Dick, Ray,
For you.
Nice to see everyone.
Tom, Used to have seen Mark, I think, once in the last 6 months or so, but
Mhm.
Yes, on to dinner.
Yeah.
Hmm.
on to dinner.
Got a motion,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I
Second,
second.
We are adjourned.
And yeah, in terms of note taking, if you have any questions, this whole thing has been recorded, so you can just ask
how do you access that?
Mark to share it with you.
Okay,
Go through Lisa, the town manager assistant, could tell you
Yeah.
how to get at it.
Names change to protect the innocent.
I think it's on GMTV.
If
Oh,
you
yeah.
have no- If you have
What?
nothing to do for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Exciting.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble getting to sleep.
I think people have watched every possible thing. We might be ahead, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's something different.
To be a new show.
Trending.
Yeah, we're trending.
Okay, guys.
All right,
right.
take care. Good to see
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Good night.
Soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.